Welcome to Jump School. I'm your host, Ihsaan Ali, aka the StyleJumper. On this podcast, you'll learn a ton of things. We'll talk about style, confidence, etiquette, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Today's episode was brought to you by my new book, Why Style Matters, The Mindset of Dressing Well and How It Impacts Your Life. To get your autographed copy, click the link in the description. Today's guest is a content and digital creator, photographer, and entrepreneur, the creative gentleman himself, Oneil Gardner. Episode 19. The following is an excerpt from Instagram Live. Let's go.
That's what's up, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Good to
can't complain.
Good to reconnect. I already yelled at the kids, told them to be quiet.
You see the hand, right? They always figure out how to do things. See?
Look, I already know, man. I already know.
Yeah.
Cool. So first, man, I want to thank you so much for hopping on the call. Welcome to this week's episode of Jump School.
Yeah. Let me take these off like my. Cool.
Yeah, I took mine off too, man. I was trying to be too fly up in here.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I wanted to welcome you to Jump School. For those of you who aren't aware, this is the accomplished Mr. Oneil Gardner, which is really interesting about Mr. Gardner because I came across him and came across you for a couple of years now. I've been following you, but it wasn't until our boy style architect Michael all of us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we would have this great collaboration. This was during like the heat of the riots and and the controversies everything that was going on. So it was really great to have a fellowship with some brothers and to really open up and talk about some things. So welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's what's up. So now that we have you on the call, so let's jump into it. Where are you from? How'd you grow up? And let's crack this boy up.
All right. My background, I'm Jamaican. I was actually born here. Both of my parents are Jamaican. I was born in DC. I grew up in Maryland. I've been in the DMV area like all my life, so this is my home. And I don't have plans of like going anywhere else. But yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit about just kind of my background of like where I'm from.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Who are your biggest influences growing up? I mean, you have a family, your extended family, so your parents. Talk about that. Like, what was that like growing up in the DMV?
I think, there was a lot of role models or just people that I looked up to just growing up. I mean, obviously my parents, they worked very hard. I was used to just seeing just hard workers. It was just it's a culture, especially for people that are like from the Caribbean or like foreign. They hustle. They're always working. They're always doing something. So I've been so used to seeing that, and that's kind of what like drives me now. I have that similar mentality.
Okay.
Yeah, but I looked up to like my brother. Him grinding and doing whatever it was that he was doing, just kind of watching him have fun and kind of enjoying certain things. Also, just from an athletic perspective, one person that I looked up to like growing up was Terrell Davis. So my favorite team is the Denver Broncos. So I always wanted to like emulate that man. So he was another one that I kind of looked up to, growing up, just his hustle, his drive, and just the way he went about doing his business.
TD was so laid back,
I know.
He would just
That's
get
how
it
I
in,
am. Yeah.
slam it, get a touchdown, come back.
And that's it.
That's
it. Salute, and he's back to business.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's dope, man. I love watching Terrell Davis back in the day. Not enough people give him appreciation. And actually, now that I think about it, he actually dressed pretty good.
Oh yeah. He gets busy too. Yeah. I think he definitely does his thing.
Yeah. I have to put him on my hit list. You know.
Right.
So you have a quite a few things that you've done, and you started off in photography. When did you pick up the camera? When was that something you found was,
So the camera has always been a part of my life. because I used to have the point and shoots. I even had the film cameras back then, the disposable ones. Like my stepfather used to get me a bunch of those. So I used to just take pictures of things and then go develop them at like CVS,
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's always been a part of me, but where it became where I took it more serious was back in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in 2016, I started to kind of delve into a little bit of the photography, and I kind of learned through taking pictures of myself. So essentially, that's how I started my Instagram. I was taking pictures of myself on a tripod, going on YouTube, learning the settings, and just like executing on the things that I was learning through the videos. And ultimately, it helped me kind of get better with photography.
Nice. So I thought it was earlier than that. So it's interesting that it's just been that short time, about 4 years, where you start taking it seriously. You know what I mean? So you went to historically black college,
Yes,
university. So what was that? What school did you go to, and what was that experience like?
I went to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. The experience was something that I was used to just because I graduated high school in Prince George's County. So I was used to being around, I guess, predominantly African American individuals, right? And then also just even going back to Montgomery County, when I was growing up as a small child, like Montgomery County and like I lived in Langley Park at one point. All of those areas were like heavily like saturated with like Caribbean, African, just international people. So I was always used to being around my people,
Yeah.
and of course in Montgomery County you have a mix of different races, but like I was used to being around my people because a lot of them lived there. So going to the Eastern Shore was no different. It was just, I was around my people, and you have to make a decision. Are you going to, and it's college, are you going to party, are you going to do your work? And I just made a decision to get my work done, and I've always been like that. So there's not a lot of people that can kind of sway my decision making or get me to do things I don't want to do. So they just know, like, all right, we'll tell him what we're doing, and if he comes, he comes. If he doesn't come, he doesn't come. And then that's just how it is.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
What did you study?
I study biology.
Okay, so you one of those smart boys out there.
I had no choice, and then my mentors happened to be my professors, so I was also under a microscope.
Oh, nice.
So my experience was a little bit different because I was a part of a lot of different things. So my two of my favorite professors were my mentors, and then I was a part of a program that was funded by the NIH. So we had a different program. We didn't have the same amount of time to do extracurricular activities than the normal student that was going there, that wasn't a part of the program. We just had a lot. It was just a little bit deeper. So while people were maybe out of class for the day, we were just heading into our program to do more work.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. So when we started the call, we saw some little hands in the background. So we're both family men.
Oh yeah.
And you have a beautiful family. So it's dope. It's dope seeing your page and your content, and you incorporate them into your content. So how did that come about? Because usually people kind of shy away from that. So what was the decision for you guys? Did you guys have that conversation about, hey, this is something I'm doing, I want you guys to be a part of it? So let's talk about that a little bit.
So I mean, I share my children on my Instagram. Like in the beginning, I was sharing them through my stories. So like if you were to check my story at any given time, I'm either holding one or we're playing or doing something like that. So it kind of sparked from there, where people started to recognize that I had family. And I think it wasn't until I did a collaboration with a brand that I started to realize it's important to incorporate your family in the work that you're doing, right? Not to overdo it, because obviously, I want to remain private to a certain extent, but enough where you all can kind of see, how we're living, how we interact, and just certain things that we're into. So once I did that collaboration, I think it kind of opened the doors for me to share them a little bit more. And I think that that's where it kind of sparked from. And, it's for me, it's my way. It's sort of like bring your child a work day,
Work day. Yeah, yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. So it's like, so now they get to see when I'm walking out the door with my cameras, they're like, oh, you're going to take pictures or you're going to do video. So they know like what I'm doing. You know what I mean? They have an understanding and now they're actually in it. And I look at it as like I guess a diary of our lives, right?
Hmm.
So these pictures that we're taking, of course, is great to collaborate with brands, but then at the end of the day, when they get older and then they look at these pictures, they're like, yeah, oh man, we were doing this for a long time. My
Yeah,
dad had us in the pictures, like, look at us, this company's still around, and we did pictures for them when we were like little kids.
that's
And
dope. You know,
yeah,
to see a family, a young Black family,
yeah,
it's such a delight to see, but also from a creative standpoint, and
right,
being, if I would like to say a creative, it's just dope seeing everyone together. You and I were talking,
right.
and you're saying that obviously you're a phenomenal photographer, but a lot of your things now, obviously you can't be on the other side of the camera when you shoot.
Yeah.
So now you even got wifey in the game shooting you. So let's talk. How did that happen?
So let me take this off. I had it on my gimbal, but I think it's going out now, but I'm gonna
It's
hold
all
my
good.
phone. So essentially, how my wife got into taking pictures of me was, at some point I was like, man, I'm sick of this tripod and, I can get things done quicker if I teach her how to take pictures of me. So essentially, when I used to go out, I would just kind of, get the settings right for her in the camera, and then just kind of give her an idea of the type of shots that I was trying to get, and then just kind of teach her from there. So she grew from there. I mean, she's definitely good at getting those pictures done, and now it's to the point where she kind of already has an understanding and she knows how to direct, so it makes it even easier like whenever we do go out and have to take pictures.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
Because you get to share that experience, and it's not like you're gone,
right.
and wife is like, "Where are you?" You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? But she's there
Yeah,
with you, so she can appreciate the effort and the
right.
full picture. And also, I think it's a bonding thing, as well. What type of advice you would give to those who are husband and wife tandem or in a relationship and thinking about working together creatively? What would be some advice you would give?
I think she said now I'm a yeah, so I think it's a matter of just, I think you all have to have the conversation first, because you have to know if your partner or significant other even wants to be a part of that process. And it's
Yeah,
okay if they're not, because I mean,
yeah,
it's not for everybody, right?
yeah.
But once they're on board and they're kind of with just moving forward with it, just schedule things out where you're being respectful of their time, because obviously they have other things to do as well. It's not
Mm,
just you.
yeah.
So just making sure that everything's like pre-planned, you have it planned out. So once you all get out there or you're executing on a shoot, you know exactly what you want to do, and it's just seamless. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
She said it right. She is a beast there. She's
Yeah.
piecing it out right now. I can't front. This is dope. So how are you managing? Okay, so you have your family.
Hmm.
Not only you have a spouse, you have two boys, right?
Right. Yeah.
Two amazing boys, and then you have the 9 to 5 still.
No, 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 no. I've been out for like almost, I think it's been a year and a half almost. Yeah, it's
So
almost been a year and a half. Yeah, real close.
so obviously having such a tremendous education, and you talk about your mentors and that experience in biology. That's usually most people wouldn't walk away from that type of education and experience. What was that transition like for you? Because a lot of us who are still in the trenches, if you will, at
Yeah.
9 to 5, what are some things, some tactical things that you would suggest when you're looking at that opportunity or opportunities that you have, and how do you potentially make that transition out of your 9 to 5 to your creative dream?
So I guess I'll abbreviate the story of how we got there so that it makes a lot of sense. So essentially, when I went to graduate school, so I graduated from undergrad, I went to graduate school. At that point, I realized that I wasn't as passionate about the direction as I was when I was in undergrad. Let's just say things got real, right? At
Yeah.
that point, and I just have to be honest with myself, because I essentially wanted to become a professor or some type of educator, and that was
Okay.
my goal. But I just noticed during that time, I kind of lost my passion for it. I worked for a laboratory that it just wasn't there. So essentially, I ended up working at the bank. I was living with two other roommates that were in the graduate program as well. So I was just like, instead of me going back home, let me get myself together up here so that I'm continuing to be away from any distractions from back home, and I can figure myself out and just move forward. Because I enjoyed the area. I was in Charlottesville. I mean, it was nice. So I was enjoying my time there. I had friends there and the whole nine. So essentially, I started working for the bank that was literally like a 1 minute walk. It probably was like 30 seconds, but like a 30 seconds to 1 minute walk away from the townhouse that we were renting. I literally, if I opened my blinds, I was looking at my bank.
Wow.
Yeah, it was right there. So I started working there and just kind of climbing the ladder. It was great experience. And then that's when my first child came. So then I was like, all right, it's time for me to move from Charlottesville to Maryland. So I moved to Maryland. I continued working from the bank, which was Wells Fargo, by the way. I ended up leaving there and working for Bank of America. And this is where things just got a little bit real for me, because I was just like, okay, well, I'm working at this place and they're demanding a lot of my time. And this is right when I started to do more on social media, and I was just like, I was just drawn to it. And I had to make a decision. I was like, look, they're taking a lot of my time. They're not giving me free time to get other things done. This just doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel right. For other people, they could, by all means, they can do that.
Yeah.
But for me, it didn't make sense. And I'm the type of person that I don't like being controlled.
Okay.
The least to say.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just like, yeah, it's time for me to make it work for myself. If I think that I'm that good, or if I'm that confident in myself, then I should be able to step out there and do it. So let's fast forward back to the question that you asked about the transition. This is what I tell everybody that asks me about it, because I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, I see what you're doing. I see these sponsored ads. You're working with these brands. You're doing X, Y, and Z. All of that stuff is cool, but it's not really what matters to me, like per se, for just to be popular. That's not what matters. I want to make sure that like I'm actually making impact in the things that I'm doing, and making sure that the brands that I'm working with are aligned. So prior to, I guess, leaving your job, you have to ask yourself a few questions. Are you actually happy at your job? Because if you're happy at your job, then why would you leave? Right? Do you have enough money saved up to make it through figuring out entrepreneurship? Because the thing is that once the money runs out, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? It takes time to get these things up and running. And I think that that's what people, that's what they miss, right? Because we don't share those kind of things. This is why I'm happy we're doing a live, because we don't share these things on our feed. Like, hey, it may have took 8 months for us to get to this point, or whatever the case may be, or have X amount of dollars like saved up. But my biggest thing is if you're happy where you're at, get the guaranteed money, and then use that to pour into what it is that you're trying to do on the back end. And once you get to a point where you feel like the finance is making sense, then you can step away. But if you just step away just because you're like, I see everybody else doing it and I want to step away, well, you're in for a rude awakening, because this is rugged terrain right now. Like even now with me having these collaborations, it's still rugged, because you have to email them back and forth, contracts, when payments come in, it gets serious. It's not the same as a 9 to 5. And some people are not ready for that. And what I would hate is for me to be the person to say, hey, yeah, go ahead. I'm with you. Quit your job.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, they're in a worse position than they were working for their job. I'm not going to be that person. So
Yeah.
anybody that asks me questions, I'm always like, well, one, are you happy where you're at? If you say yes, then there's no reason for you to leave. And then you have to think about what you want to do, right? Because a lot of people will see what you're doing and say that they want to do that, but that's not your purpose. Your
Mm-hmm.
purpose may be somewhere else, and you need to figure it out while you're still at the job.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had it figured out. I knew kind of what direction I was going, and so it made sense. And again, I saved for that. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, this thing was 2 years in the making prior to me leaving my job. It was 2 years. So I gave the bank 2 additional years of like, hey, maybe things will turn around. And it didn't. And I had a conversation with my wife, and she was like, look, I agree with you, because I'm like, I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. I'm like, this place is like draining me right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, yeah, I agree. Like, you know, I'm with you. Like, yeah. And that's all I needed to hear.
That she had your back. You know,
Yeah.
the beautiful thing is that you knowing like, hey, if you like the gig, if you like the job that you're doing, then and what I'm hearing is use that job as your investor. Let
Right.
them, you know what I mean? They're investing in your dream,
Mm-hmm.
whether they know it or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you take that, you continue to strive and work hard at your main job, that 9 to 5, and then whatever those increases are, then you shift those increases into that dream that you want to do, and you have that's basically the best of both worlds.
Right.
And you know, to a point, if it's time to rock out, then you got to do what you got to do, but you got to think about it really clearly. You got to plan.
Yeah.
You got to really assess, and then know what it is that you're getting into. You can't be just kind of like trying to figure it out if you're going to walk away. You know.
Yeah. You gotta know it, and I knew it because I was like right there, and the first critical thing was my wife being on board, but then the second thing was that I knew that like because I had to turn down a lot of opportunities because of work. And I was like, if I flipped it and I actually had the time to do the work, then I would be fine. So I got to the point where it was enough business or inquiries where like, okay, now I have the time to do it. I could transition. But if it wasn't coming in like that, I would have to just bite the bullet and just keep you know, suffering through it, but just continuing to just invest until it was time to walk away. But yeah, this was 2 years. This wasn't something that like I spoke to 5 people and then I was out. This was something like, yeah, like almost 3, like 2017 actually. So almost 3 years. I was just kind of sitting there, but I left in 2019. So yeah, 2 years. But yeah, so it was like 2 years of me just like, all right, let me save some money and I'm going to use this and invest. And even now with the partnerships that I'm getting, I'm even investing in other things that I'm passionate about too. So it's twofold. So like I'm using this to leverage some other things that I'm working on.
That's dope. So, and that's something that, you know, the great late Nipsey Hussle talks about is that vertical integration. How do you continue to, you know, gain opportunities? There's something that you're already doing and you keep funneling it. It's like that inch wide and a mile deep, just going so deep in what it is that you enjoy doing. So obviously the call is about content creating, and I think that it can be defined in many ways, right? So from your definition, what is a content creator? What do you do for those who have heard the term, and curious about the term, and curious about content creating, but really don't know or have really good insight on what it is truly?
I mean, for me, content creation is like creating a story around something. So whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm just being deliberate about having a story. So I'm just not out there posing and taking a picture, right? So content creation isn't just the image. It's the things that you say. It's the things that you are doing with the piece of content that's being made. So it could just be wordplay. So sometimes it may be me posing, but I'm dressed up in something that I'm speaking to. So for me, the content creation is more so about storytelling And I think that where people kind of get things just kind of mixed up is where a lot of people call me an influencer, and I guess that's just kind of the term that they're used to,
Yeah.
and it works like that. But I'm like, okay, I mean, if that's your terminology, that's fine. But like, I actually like create content, so my things are just thought out. You know what I mean, and things like that. It's just not. I'm just not out here just doing anything. It's more so like things are being thought out. Content is like projects are being made, different things like that.
So what's your thought process on a project? You know, do you have like a specific like rhythm or a specific process that you go through every single time? These things need to align. These are the things that I want to do. So that I'm sure you there's some sense, some science to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to creating your content.
So I think when it comes to the content creation, of course, I think it's all about pre-planning. So you have to like whether you write it down or like for me, I'm more of a visual person. I'm not drawing it, but like in my mind, I'm creating the story or like what direction I want to go into with the things that I'm trying to shoot. But I would say the biggest thing if you're going to get into this arena is that you have to really start focusing in on the story, because a lot of times what you see on social media is just a carbon copy of somebody else. So they, whether it be a pose that they saw
Mm-hmm.
that they like, now they're doing that pose, right? There's nothing wrong with it, but it, when they're doing it or how they're doing it doesn't make sense to what they're putting in the caption. So there's no balance.
Mm.
So you have to understand when you're creating certain things, there has to be a balance. It can't just be something random, because they'll see that. They'll see that it's random. And then, I mean, at that point, you kind of, because I think our value comes from people actually trusting in what we do. And I
Yeah.
think the minute that you lose that trust or whatever the case may be, it's hard to regain it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for me, I try to be as transparent as possible, and I try to make sure that when I'm posting or when I'm creating things that there's balance to it, that it makes sense.
When you're gaining these opportunities or you're meeting with these particular clients, how does that happen? Are you getting more conversations or opportunities through your Instagram, or would it be through your website? How are you getting those relationships and these opportunities for partnering with brands?
As of right now, it's heavily on Instagram, which that's something that I'm looking into as well. Like, I mean, I love Instagram to death, but like, I think it's time for me to expand into other platforms. I
Mm-hmm.
do have a website which gets traffic there as well, but I want to try to move more people over to my site or over to some other social platforms that I'm going to be getting into, because I can't tell you how many times, and it's good to have good people around you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy of mine, like, he was like, are you on Pinterest? I'm like, yeah, I have an account, but I'm not active on it. He's like, you need to get active on it, my friend. Like,
Yeah.
just to have them like tell you that kind of stuff, like it means that they're thinking about you, and like they want to see you do well
Mm-hmm.
all around. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's some other networks that I want to get onto, but as of right now, a lot of the opportunities are being found through Instagram.
There's one of the things I love about you mentioned Pinterest is it's especially for visual people. It's
Hmm.
such a great platform to show those amazing images. Like
Right.
I was on Pinterest more than I was on Instagram for years. I could just go into Pinterest and be there for days. And
Right.
that was like my nightly regimen, falling asleep, create my little boards and
Hmm.
pop in all, these different looks and things of that nature, just so that I can, look at whether it's color palettes or different
Right.
styles and thinking like, I think I could rock that, but in my
Right.
own way. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's from all over the world, and that's why I really love Pinterest. And I'm glad to hear that that's something that you'll be playing in
Oh
or
yeah,
exploring.
definitely.
You know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so, do you have like a crew? I mean, outside of your wife, and the kids, is there a collective, a crew that you work with? You guys do things together. Would love to talk about that.
Well, okay, so I have a few affiliations. So I'm a part of a fraternity. I think one of my line brothers was actually on, I don't know if he's still on, but Christian's on there. So I'm a part of Phi Beta Sigma
Okay.
fraternity. So
Okay.
I have that connection. We're all, my entire line, we're still connected. Like we group chat, we
Oh,
link up, you know, some of them are getting married. I'm married. So it's just crazy. So I have that, but then also, I'm sure you saw that on my Instagram. I'm a part of the Dojo Studios.
yeah.
So that particular studio, I'm happy to be a part of because it's again, it's a group of Black men, and we all are family men.
Mm.
And we're big on just kind of building community, making sure that we are doing our part to educate people in the creative space, and just being a hub for creatives in the DMV. So to be able to be a part of that space and have our own space has it's been good.
You know, it's interesting you being here in the DMV. I'm in the DMV as well, as you know. It's great to see such beautiful people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's one
Yeah.
thing to see stuff on TV or
Right.
Instagram, but to be amongst the culture and to
Hmm.
see the diaspora in so many different, realms. It's just beautiful to see. So I'm happy to hear that you're with the collective there, here in the DMV, a positive influence. And I think that's one of the things I really wanted to talk about as well is, redirecting and recreating the narrative when it comes to
Hmm.
brand. And, it's so important that we're seeing other than what's being projected out there. And we're starting to drive that car, create that film, if you will, and put that
Hmm.
out to the world as we see ourselves, not the way someone else sees us. So
Right.
let's talk about how important it is for you and what you're doing.
I think it's really important, and that was my number one reason why I joined the Dojo Studio, for the fact that there were the founders and the owners of it. Um, we share a lot of similarities, and they're all grinders in there. And in order for me to get to where I need to be, I need to position myself around people that are headed in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if they're ahead of me, I can learn from those individuals. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of shared knowledge. There's a lot of time for us to, spend time with each other, especially as men, like my wife goes out with her friends and stuff like that. And like, we don't typically do those kind of things, but I think it's important for us to build as well. And I think through this, it allows us to do that. But yeah, I think that it's important, especially now more than ever. I mean, typically what you would see is it's like every man for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that the future is going to be about collaboration. And when people start realizing that, we'll be able to do great things, because you having something that's really good and trying to keep that secret, or you be the only person that's doing it, you might win for a little while, but at some point somebody may catch up, or a group of people may catch up, and because they're sharing different perspectives, they're able to get over you, hop over and be the next person up. And you see it right now. Like, you pay attention to what the brands are doing. You're seeing a lot of cross contamination, right? You're seeing
Yeah.
a lot of collaborations being done with different brands. They get it. Well, at least the ones that are doing it.
Yeah.
And what happens is whatever they end up creating ends up being amazing, because you're merging two different perspectives, right, together. And when you mix those two things, then we get whatever it is that they've created, which is, it could be amazing.
It's like, the two different sauces, right? You put two different
Hmm.
things together, you
Right.
get this whole new sauce, this whole perspective, this completely different experience. Because, I think culturally, I think that's one of the things that I think we can really grow
Right.
upon is this idea of, we're hearing a lot about group economics right now.
Hmm.
That's sort of one of the buzz terms. And as a community, we kind of went away from that. And I
Yeah.
believe based after segregation, that's when it kind of separated.
Hmm.
Because once we became desegregated, then, everybody was, went out on their own. But when we were segregated, we worked together. Everybody was in the community. The doctor was here, the architect was here, all the companies. We had to support each other, and our dollars stayed in the community much, much more when we were segregated compared to now, which obviously, there have been advantages for the civil rights struggle. But I do believe that it's great to hear, and it's something that I truly believe as well, that we get back to supporting each other and sharing and collaborating, because, the tide lifts all ships. You know what I mean? But if I want to take my ship and pull it out of the water and walk way down by myself, you put yourself on an island. And there's so much that we could do together and grow. And again, those ideas and all those different things that we could do to improve not only the culture, but whatever it is that we're doing. So to move away from, competition versus collaboration, because when we collaborate, we grow together. So I'm glad to hear that. So you went to Pitti, was that last year?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going for the past almost 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, this past summer they canceled it, so that's the only reason why. I mean, I wouldn't have went it regardless. Like if it wasn't canceled, I wouldn't have went. But this was my first one that I missed.
What's the experience like? What is it like?
It's a great experience. I mean, I tell everybody that, like, for me, it's a business trip, as opposed to just going there to dress nice. Because I mean, at the end of the day, when you go there, you dress the way that you dress. I mean, I think a lot of times when people go there, they see pictures and then they start to create their outfits based on what they saw. But really, that's not what PT is about. It's about individualism. It's about unique styling. They want to see something new. And when I go there, obviously my style is just a little bit different, where I mix a lot of different things. So I'm able to go, and like I said, it's a business trip. I'm going to talk to brands, seeing how I can position myself to support them, how they can support me, how I can see, what's coming out with the upcoming seasons. If I'm getting ready to get into some type of merchandise business, then you have the vendors there. So for me, it's a business trip, and I'm happy that. And I got to shout out Gear. I know you know who Gear is, but I have to shout him out because he's the one that actually got me to go the first time. He was like, "If you can make it, you need to come out." And when I got out there, he took me under his wing. Introduced me to a lot of people there, because he's been going there for ages. Introduced me to people that he knew. We were going to like the parties, meeting other people. It was just like, it was the right way to do it. And I was happy that I got that experience, as opposed to just kind of going there and just thinking, oh, it's about getting dressed up and getting pictures taken of yourself, because I mean, you could do that anywhere. So he just showed me the other side of it, about building relationships and, really taking in the essence of what this thing is about.
If you were to place or imagine, if you will, a city in the United States, where would PT be in the city? You know what I mean? Because if you think about city, and it's us as a culture, because I think, I do believe, and we don't get enough recognition when it comes to style and influence. Obviously, you have the music and you have style, but people don't really, I think, give us the roses that we deserve when it comes to men's style. So what city, and who are some of the people you'd like to see there?
I mean, this is tough, because I feel like a lot of the cities are starting to catch up in terms of style. But of course, like a New York, you're going to see everything. So it's always a delight going to New York just to see the different style, because it's crazy, right? So in New York, certain seasons, you'll see people wear a lot of black, and you would think that everybody would look the same, but they're like, it's all styled different. It's crazy. So like, New York is probably one of my most favorite places to go to, just to see the style. Right. And see what's happening. LA, I've been there. LA's pretty good. They have some good people out there. But I would say if we were talking, I guess a PT type of scenario, I
Yeah.
mean, New York is probably going to be your thing because you get that entire mix of everything
Okay.
right there. And of course, you know, there's certain pockets of it here in the DMV, but I still don't feel like the DMV is taking style as serious as it is in other places.
Sure. Sure.
But there are stylish people here for sure. But the culture is just not here yet.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that we might have to do, bro. We might
Oh,
have.
what's good, Nate? He's on here.
Yeah, well, Nate
Yeah.
actually one of the persons, you know, I was talking about individuals who, you know, in the industry,
Yeah.
commentators who some of the dopest, you know, commentators when it comes to steez, and
Oh
absolutely,
yeah. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
definitely on top of my list.
He's wavy with it, man. He definitely, you know, he's keeping up with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's doing it big.
that's a shout out. What up? What up? When you talked about style influences, I was doing some research, and there's two brothers from two different generations
Uh-huh.
that influence you. One of which I actually really have inspired my style over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other was really interesting. So that was Andre 3000
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah, that's
Spike
one.
Lee.
Yeah.
So let's talk about them two. How did they
Man,
influence you?
I'm gonna tell you like this, and I'm gonna keep it simple, right? With those two individuals, like that's my style. So like it resonates with me. It's like it's fearless. And it's not that it's like crazy. To some people it might be crazy, but
Mhm.
like to me I understand it because these people and I always talk about this, like I consider myself, I guess, a student of the game in terms of uh you know, messing with patterns, messing with textures, colors, those
Mhm.
type of things. So like I can sit down and say, okay, well these two colors complement each other. You're wearing this suit, like we can mix these textures together. So like those individuals that I mentioned that like I emulate, you can clearly see if you look at whatever has been documented that
Mhm.
those people pay attention to what it is they're doing when they leave their house. And
Yeah.
they make the statements, you know what I mean? And one of the things with Andre 3000 too, I mean, even before he had this collaboration, but he did a collaboration with Tree Torn, and I
Mhm.
have probably like 4 pairs from that collection.
Nice.
But when I saw it, it made sense to me the way that they were styled because there was texture, there were patterns, there were colors being mixed, and it was him. And in turn, I was like, that's me. So I'm like, I need all of these. You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just one of those things, man. But like those two guys, like they do it. You know, they do this for real.
It's really interesting that the influence of those two, and from completely different parts of the country, which is really
Exactly.
interesting. And you were talking earlier about storytelling,
Hmm.
and when, you know, obviously Spike Lee is the master storyteller,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, all in itself, and then you have Dre, who's been doing it since we was in middle school. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, Dre was
Yeah.
the first person that I saw, in, as you said, an extension from South Carolina that spoke
Yeah.
like me, you know, 1 year behind me. And I'm like, it was like, it blew my mind. And as he transitioned and grew and
Uh-huh.
evolved, I was growing at the same time, you know what I mean? So it's just really interesting seeing
Yeah.
his evolution and my personal appreciation for travel. I went to the military and all those kinds of things. So I
Hmm.
saw the world. So that was a great influence. Um,
Yeah.
and I love the fact that, you know, they control their own narrative. It's
See,
like,
and that's the other thing. Yeah, it's from personality on down. That
yeah,
like for me, like that's just kind of how I am. Like I'm like quiet, private. You know, I do my work,
yeah,
I mind my business. You know, I have my own little unique style, and I just keep it moving.
that's what's up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do, we got about 10 minutes or just a little under 10 minutes. I want to do something fun with you I haven't done in a while, which I think you'd appreciate and have some fun with. So this is basically what I call the creative Last Supper.
Okay.
Right. And so these are some creatives that you would kick it with, and it's just either a yes or a no that you want to have at that table the last time you eat. All right.
Oh man.
It's a good one. It's
I
a
hope
good
they're
one.
not on here right now.
Oh, no. They're not on here yet.
All right.
You know, ain't nobody that dope listening to listen to
Hey,
Jump School yet. You never know. I
man.
know Nate just hopped on.
Yeah, Nate hopped on. So
Nate hopped
you
on.
never know.
You never know. You're right. So, Oswald Boateng or Virgil Abloh? Or right here.
I think
The chin.
right. That's what I'm saying, man. For right now, I'm about to go with Virgil.
That's what's up. Ralph Lauren or Paul Smith?
You get me right now. I'm going with Ralph, man.
That's what's up. Kanye or Jesse Lorenzo?
Kanye.
D'Angelo or John Legend?
Oh, man. Hey, look, I'm not going to hold you. That's a tough one, but I'm going to go with D'Angelo. I'm going with D'Angelo.
That's what's up. All right. Alexander McQueen or Yves Saint Laurent?
I'm going with Saint Laurent.
Outkast or Wu-Tang?
Look, I'm NA. NA.
It could be, you know what? It could be a time, man. I get you, man. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
All right. So if you chilling, you rocking Jodeci or Jagged Edge?
I think I'm gonna take it back. I'm going with Jodeci.
Okay. Come and rock with me. Mary J or Sade?
Dang, bro, like that. We're gonna have to
Skip.
tie that one up.
Got you. Michael Prince.
Gosh, man, you're not making it easy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go tie on that, man, because they're both like, yeah.
All right.
On that.
Chappelle or Kevin Hart?
Chappelle, 100. I still got the DVD season 2.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You crack up all day like it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, I watched the bloopers disc, all of that, man, everything. Nah, Chappelle, for sure.
All right. Nat King Cole or Sammy Davis Jr.?
I'm gonna go with Sammy.
Martin during the Martin show or Will during the Fresh Prince?
Dang, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. I wanted to say Ty, but I gotta go with Martin, man. Martin was like, we
Beast.
Yeah, Martin.
So I think I know this one, but we'll see. John Singleton or Spike?
Come on, Spike.
Spike. All right, last one. Coltrane or Miles?
Then Coltrane.
My guy. That's what's up. That's my man. I mean, I love them both, and that would be a tough one for me. But man, Innocent in the Middle mood. That's it. So final question when it comes to this is, if you were a creative, if you could spend 24 hours with any creative, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
That's a tough one. There's a few people that I want to hang with. Gosh.
Who came first to your mind?
The first person that came to mind, which is like, I'm not going to say it's crazy, but the first person that came to mind was like Kanye. And the reason being is like, I would love to just he's a genius, right? I think he's misunderstood.
I agree.
But I'm the type of person, like, I'm really observant. So I would love to like spend time just seeing the behavior, the thought process around the stuff that he does. Because I mean, at the end of the day, again, misunderstood, but the guy he's a genius. So I would want to like, and the reason why I'm going with him is obviously he's still alive, but he's closer to my kind of age group. And in that way. So it's just like, I would be interested to see how he goes about doing his business and just thought process.
He'll be on the top of my list as well. You know, if you think about everyone that came out of the Donda group,
Mm-hmm.
They're like leading major companies when it comes to menswear on
Yeah.
their own. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely an amazing person to sit down and break bread with.
Yeah, for sure.
So where would, as we wrap up, where would anybody who wants to learn more about what you're doing, where should they check you out? Because I did some research on, I like your website, by the way. I was
No, I
really,
appreciate it.
I was really digging that. So where would you send people to check out what you're doing?
Of course, on Instagram, you can find me at The Creative Gentleman. My website is thecreativegentleman.net. So that's the other place that you can find me and just see what projects I've been working on or what I'm into. But yeah, I mean, anybody who wants to reach out, you can, shoot me an email, DM me, whatever. I'm always kind of available. I try my best to answer everybody. Sometimes I may miss it, but I'll get around to it. But yeah, it won't be that long.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So if I'm a creative and I'm really thinking about getting involved and getting into this game, what would be your advice? What are some things that you would say, hey man, you want to think about this?
Mm-hmm. I think it goes back to what I mentioned before when we first started, is figuring out what you like to do. Because oftentimes people get into this space wanting to do what they see somebody else being successful doing. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that you can't be successful doing it, but it may not be for you. And the way that is the things that feels like they're pulling teeth to get you to do. So if you like something that somebody else is doing, but to you it's like pulling teeth, then that's probably not your avenue. Mm. So I would say spend a lot of time figuring out what your purpose is, or what you're passionate about. And that's what took me so long to get here, because before it was just strictly style. And then I started to realize that like I needed to go more into lifestyle, because there was more to me than just dressing up. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I started to kind of figure out what it is that I like to do. And I started to get away from the stuff that I didn't like to do.
Got it. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on Jump School.
Oh, yeah. Long time, man.
Yeah, man. Long time coming. And, I can't wait for us to connect here. Yeah. We should be able to get in the car and just chop it up. So let's figure that out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just let me know. We can make something work. Yeah.
And but for those of you who hopped on, I just want to thank you so much for hanging out with me, Ihsaan, and the StyleJumper, and this amazing creative gentleman, perfectly termed, Mr. Oneil Gardner. Thank you so much, you guys. Hopefully see you next week, and let's do it again.
I'll be tuned in. Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll get connected. Just message me and shoot me a text, and we can figure out like when to link up or whatever.
That's what's up. Y'all be good.
All right.
Peace.
All right, cool.
I hope you enjoyed today's amazing interview. Today's episode was brought to you by my new book, Why Style Matters: The Mindset of Dressing Well and How It Impacts Your Life. To get your autographed copy, click the link in the description.